Okay. Okay. So welcome everybody. Let's get underway. We are on Daf Tet Zayin Amud Bet to Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Just to remind everyone, in case you don't remember from last week, we have two memrot. One from Rav Krus Bedoy, who's in the middle of Tet Zayin Amud Bet. Rav Krus Bedoy says in the Rabbi Yochanan, it's the Gemara. Shlosh Yisrael Niftachim b'Rosh Hashanah. 3 books are open on Rosh Hashanah. And we learned that. Then, after the 3 books in Rosh Hashanah, toward the bottom of the page, we have Tanya Beit Shammai Omrim. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines up from the bottom of the page of 16b, where it refers to Gimel Kitod Hein Liyom HaDin. There are 3 groups on the Day of Judgment. And the reason why this is somewhat confusing is because the Yom HaDin, we thought we would consider Yom HaDin to be Rosh Hashanah. Hine Yom HaDin. It's Beferish in the Tefillah, right? It was written by Rishonim, maybe a little before the Rishonim. We talked about Matana Tokef last time. But in the first version, it's referring to books that are opening and something that's being written in the books. In the second case, it's referring to this Yom HaDin, but the same kind of idea, tripartite division, right? Tzaddikim are going to be signed and sealed for, or written and sealed for life. Rishayim, it's opposite. And the Beinonim are in some middle category. What the Rishonim are trying to understand is what relevancy it has for Rosh Hashanah. Last we saw the Bali Tosafot, Rashi and the Bali Tosafot essentially said this thing doesn't add up, and therefore it must be referring to the end of days. Even the idea about the 3 books, what we're being judged about on Rosh Hashanah is about Olam Haba, the time Tchiyat HaMeitim, etc. It can't be really related to this world. It just doesn't compute. It doesn't fit. Tonight, what I want to see, we saw also, then last week, we opened the, and I'll have to open it myself, and I'll put it on the screen for you, Ronnie, and I guess for me, because I handed all the copies that I had, comes the territory, is the reality of the Ramban, which we'll see inside. Last time when we learned, put on the screen, we had done the Sefer Chinuch, if you remember.
Is it easier for you this?
Oh, yeah, but I got to scroll for him anyway. So I got to scroll for him anyway. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's just going to be easier for the turning of the pages. So at the back of the packet was the Sefer Chinuch or not? No, or the front. The front was Sefer Chinuch. Yeah, I was going. There was a certain method to my madness. So right at the beginning, sorry to make you dizzy there, Ronnie. Okay, we just review. We had on that first page. It's on page 1 of the packet, right? The 3 books are open on Rosh Hashanah, right? Everyone is wise to the reality. The Rishonim already understood. We understand that if it was so simple, tzaddikim get good things and Rishayim get bad things, it doesn't seem to play out that way in this world. Tzaddik v'rol Rosh V'tovlo. How did that happen? The Nevi'im were wise to this. The Nevi'im are already complaining to Hashem about this. Moshe Rabbeinu was asking Hashem about it. You have right here, right now, a Parsha bingo. So you could use it already as for a Dvar Torah on Shabbos, the end of Parashat Shemot. Moshe Rabbeinu is asking Hashem. It's the pshat, right? Lama hariota la'am hazeh, lama zeh shlachtani, me'az ki me'az bati al paro, right? You're not allowed to quote the pasuk, but if you have a skilled, professional, then he can quote the pasuk. I shouldn't really quote it. You could, okay, you understand. It doesn't matter. You got the point. He's asking why bad things happening to the Jewish people, and you send me, and there's a promise and there's a plan. So how come the plan is coming, but it's come undone? So the same question we have Rosh Hashanah. So the Bali Tosafot said, no, the whole thing. By the way, the Vilna Gaon adopted that idea, Lamaisa, that everything in Rosh Hashanah is about Olam Haba. What's going to happen in this world? So when are you being judged in this world? All the time. But there's not a headquarters day or a 10-day period. That's just about Olam Haba. You'll ask me, yeah, but when the person dies, they're going to be assessed again. So, Min Hastam, the assessment's taking place in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur for whatever's going to happen the next year, if God forbid a person would leave the world. That part of the judgment, what's going to be, is somehow already, that's what's being figured out. And it's the reconciliation of the fact that we have a reference to Rosh Hashanah by Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Krus B'da, Rabbi Yochanan, and then a few lines later, Beit Shammai saying that on Yom HaDin there are 3 groups. So Bali Tosafot keep those 2 together by saying the Rosh Hashanah judgment is about the Yom HaDin, not annual, but of the end of a person's life. The Chinuch didn't agree. The Chinuch quoted the name of his Rebbe. He doesn't say who it is. B'shem Mori Tzaddik. And that's why we had seen the Rashba last time also to try to see, is that the Rashba? Who is it? But if you're looking at the bottom paragraph, which we saw last time, Umasha Amru Sham, Shlosha Sfarim Niftachim, Rosh Hashanah, Echad Shel Tzaddikim, Gemurim, V'echad Shel Rishayim, Gemurim, V'echad Shel Beinanim, V'inyan Ptichat HaSfarim, Ne'emar Lefi HaDome, Al Derech HaMashal, B'inyan Shkachato Baruch Hu Aleim. It's imagery, it's an allegory. Kedei Shikansu Advarim Be'oznei Hashomim, Yidaber Rabbeinu La'olam B'murgal B'vnei Adam. It's a way that people could understand it. You can relate to the notion of a book. So that's why Chazal use that imagery. Tzaddikim Gemurim Nechtam La'al L'chaim, Piresh Mori Tzaddik Gamur Bekan Shekulo Zakai. What it refers to here, my Rebbe explained, is that a Tzaddik Gamur means a person who is wholly guiltless. They have no sins. They have a perfect record. And conversely, V'chein Rasha Gamur Bekan Shekulo Chayav. They have not one merit. They're the embodiment of evil. They're going to get their judgment immediately. They have no defense that they could marshal. Yeah? A Beinonim, who have neither a perfect record in a positive sense, nor an entirely degraded, nor the epitome of evil, but they're the Beinonim, Tluyin ad Yom Kippurim. Then on Yom Kippur, that's when it'll be sealed. Oh, that sounds familiar. Everyone is meant to walk around 10 days of repentance. That's the point. I'm not a Tzaddik Gomer. I'm not a Rasha Gomer. I must be a Beinoni, and everybody's a Beinoni somewhere on a certain spectrum. Back page. Beit Shammai Omri Shalosh Kitot Liyom HaDin. Klomar Achar Hamavet Shekol Echad B'Echad B'nei Adam Shezeh Kara Yom HaDin. That refers when Beit Shammai spoke the end of the page. That's talking about at the day of death. Shezeh Kara Yom HaDin. Kat echad shel tzadikim gemurim, v'kat shel rishayim, v'kat shel beinanim. 3 different groups. Bekan pirshu. Here they explain tzaddik gomer v'rasha gomer bidinam. What's a tzaddik in a rasha? So it's based on the pasuk from Parashat Ki Teitzei. Right? I think it's Ki Teitzei, chapter 25 in Devarim, right? V'tzdiku et tzaddik v'yirshu et rasha. Okay? What is v'tzdiku et tzaddik v'yirshu et rasha? It means whoever won the court case is called the tzaddik. Whoever lost is called the rasha. It's not because morally they're a tzaddik or a rasha. Tzaddik means you got the judgment in your favor. Rasha means it didn't work out in your favor. Mm-hmm. And by this logic, the list of who goes into the book of the tzaddikim and the list of the people who go into the book of the Rishayim on Rosh Hashanah, for instance, refers to who is, by this rendering, really just means who got a good judgment for that year and who didn't get a good judgment for that year. It's not literally the person's a tzaddik gamor, because he said with Rosh Hashanah, it's gamor and gamor. Here he's really talking about the end of a person's life, the truth is. And that's why he says that it means, it's by footnote, I went too far, sorry, by footnote chaf over there, right? Tzaddik gamor v'rasha gamor bidinam. Ubezeh peirush tistalei kusha gedola mina inan. This removes the question. Im tiska b'ni targish ba v'yaniach lecha amal izeh. Yeah, so if you'll pay attention, my son, you'll understand what you'll be sensitive to this idea, and it will allay your concern for everything that I'm explaining. Yeah, you won't have this question like, I don't know, tzaddikim, rishayim, but we see that it doesn't work out that way in this world. So it's for the end of one's life, and it's how it's going to play out at the end of life. Tzaddik or rasha in terms of the judgment itself. Umasha amrusham hatzadik gomer bedino nachtam la'al t'lechai olam haba. The fact that it says that tzaddik, who's in total tzaddik gomer, is going to get immediately chai olam haba. Al tachshav shechai olam haba davar shivah b'chol tzaddik. Don't think that olam haba means everyone gets an equal share. Like kol yisrael yesh lam chelek olam haba. Yeah, but how big is your chelek? Mm-hmm. Depends on you. Yeah. There's a joke that goes with this, but this is a Gemara shir. So I've resisted temptation, and I want schar that I didn't waste anyone's time with the joke. But okay, with the chelik, I'll tell you it another time. I don't want to record it because we get in trouble. Keep going. Ki yesh be'oten chaye malot ad ein misbar. In Olam Haba, there are many, many levels, an infinite number of levels, whatever that means. It's innumerable. So it's not infinite, but every tzaddik will get to the level based on their righteousness and whatever their reward that they're meant to get. V'yeter pirti inyanim eila Sham Rosh Hashanah Perak Rishon. You should look at it, and you'll find it there. Question, Larry, please.
Someone's deciding to then he is a hope to the next year.
Right. What does that mean? So does it mean they lose their status completely? Or does it mean that a tzaddik gamor means they were perfect? They didn't have one sin the whole year. Yeah, which is questionable how that could be. But I told you last time there's a Gemara that claims that umpteen people that wouldn't have ever died if not for the sin of Adam and Chava. So because of what's called social nachash, the venom from the primordial snake, means every human being has to die. But if not for that, Binyamin, Ben Yaakov, Amram, right? This is four people, like Chinuch, etc. So Yishai, they never sinned. But if by the next year they did sin, so they're reassessed, and what's going to end up happening? Now they're in the book of the Beinonim. The only way they get into the book of the Rishayim, according to the Sefer Chinuch, in the world of Rosh Hashanah, is if they were a Rasha Gamor, Tzaddik Gamor. But no one's really that during the year. Oh, not no one. It's possible. I just told you, Tzaddik Gamor is possible. So maybe Rasha Gamor is possible. I could think of some people go on the list Rasha Gamor in this world. When beings destroyed the Tzelem Elokim, yeah, you need to think of some list people. So everyone else a Beinoni. So they keep shifting between the years.
So I don't understand the consequence of the judgment.
The judgment for the next year.
Year one, they're judged for Olam Haba or for this world, depending upon your point of view.
Well, you're conflating two different approaches.
Okay.
So you got to pick which one you want to talk about. The Chinuch or Tosafot. Okay. Let's talk about that Rosh Hashanah is really just about Olam Haba, not about Olam Hazeh. Let's talk about that one.
So he gets judged for Olam Haba because it's tzaddik gamor
That year.
that year.
Right.
He then loses.
Goes off the rails.
He gets the
uppermost level.
Yeah, you got a higher level. But let's say he goes off the rails that year. So there comes the next Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So now he's not going to be in the book with the tzaddikim anymore.
So what happened to his chelik and Olam Haba?
It was diminished. It could be removed, God forbid. Tosafot right here that you could have a tzaddik who it's as if they burned the entire Torah and didn't leave one letter left. How come? Because they suffered so much in their life. And you could have a Rasha who it's as if they must have kept everything because they get a wonderful life. So then Tosafot say, no, because there's a balance between this world and the next world. There are people who, lo aleinu, suffer mightily in this world because whatever punishments they were meant to get for any bad thing they ever did, they got that was purged already in this world. When they get to the next world, they just have Olam Haba. And conversely, people who get their Olam Haba in this world seems like a prize, but not when you weigh the whatever it is, the Me'av Esrim Shana in this world versus the amount of time in the next world. So they ended up getting the recompense in this world. Right? That's what Bali Tosafot say.
So I'm confused because that was a good question. So
It's an excellent question.
Okay,
I'm trying to resolve it.
so in the frequent flyer miles, you
Let's
get
say.
your status, and then you have the status for the following year.
If someone would leave
No
the
matter
world
what
in that year.
happens, yeah, no what happens. So, no.
I think,
okay,
yeah.
so when you're judged, it seems to me you can fall off the rails immediately, and that judgment goes away,
Yeah.
or you have that judgment. And then you have to re-get judged every year to maintain that status.
Your status, your
So-
million
so-
mile status.
So your
Lahaftal.
Olam Haba
Survive.
is kind of, I don't want to say irrelevant, but it only works if, God forbid, you go right away.
Yeah.
And that's,
Right.
I want to come back to that.
There's definitely a limitation in it, which, by the way, that's why the Chinuch didn't agree. And that's why we'll see the Ramban didn't agree.
According to Tosafot,
That's why.
it's you're a Rosh Hashanah, you're gonna die.
No. Who said? No. That's not true. No. That's not what it says.
I thought it said, that's what you said.
No. If you're a Rasha Gamor, according to Bali Tosafot,
Yes.
if you're a Rasha Gamor, it means that you went into the book. You had more sins than not you. A person had more sins than merits, and therefore their Olam Haba is not happening because whenever they will leave the world, if they leave during that year, they will not get Olam Haba. That was Tosafot.
Tosafot was not focused on Olam Haba, was focused on Olam Hazeh.
Exactly backwards. Tosafot, let's read it inside. It's only 4 lines. Look in the bottom of Tet Zayin Mebet. Tet Zayin Mebet. Tosafot. Tosafot. We learned it already, but we'll do it quick. The fact that it's talking about Beinonim Mashman Tzadikim Gemurim Kari Lami. It's Gemurim is the bet there from the Bach. Yeah. Mashman Tzadikim Gemurim Kari Lamish Zchuyotav Merubim. Roshan Gemur Lamish Avonotav Merubim. Because you're talking about Beinonim, and the Beinonim seems to be like it's in the middle. In fact, that's what we learned. The Beinonim are Tluyim ve'omdim ad Yom Kippurim. That's what Rabbi Yochanan said, right? And the Beinonim are Tluyim ve'omdim Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim. If they merit, they'll be in the book of life. If they don't merit, they'll be in the book of the opposite. Yeah. That's what it says. They'll be sealed. They'll be written and sealed for life. The Beinonim. So Tosafot say, you know what the Beinonim? Hold on. Tosafot say, you know what the Beinonim means? Literally, the score is tied. Literally tied. That's what Beinonim must be. How many people are possibly going to be in that category? But it's possible, and therefore everything is hanging in the balance. One action will tilt it in one direction or another, and the person's completely balanced. Now, how do you know how they're balanced? Only Hashem knows they're balanced. That's the point. So the Bali Tosafot would say, if it's possible to be perfectly balanced, that's their understanding of it. Perfectly balanced when Rosh Hashanah comes around, and therefore the judgment's not being rendered till Yom Kippur, and you have 10 days to go in this direction or that. It means that everyone else is either in the book of the Tzaddikim or in the book of the Rishayim. That's what's going to happen, right? You got it? Understand? In other words, to the Bali Tosafot, there's a midpoint with two different sides. And if you're balanced on the edge of the knife, so to speak, called the Benoni, it's going to be a really small group of people. The Chinuch didn't see it that way. The Chinuch thought almost everybody's in the Benoni category. It's a very wide, if you put it pictured as like a number line or something, it's a very wide number of people. It's like a bell curve. Most is bell curve. Most people are in the high part of the bell. The extremes is almost nobody who's going to be literally at the end of the line or the end of the line. So everybody else is going to be a Benoni. For the Bali Tosafot, it is a line, and there are points on the line. Okay, and you have one line down the middle. Picture the x-axis, and it's 1 to 10. So at 5, there's a line that goes down. Anybody, or actually, let me not use 5. Let me use 0. Y axis. So on the x-axis, there's a 0, plus 10, and minus 10. So everybody is either going to be in the book of the Tzaddikim between 0.01 and 10. And actually means they're going to go to 10 automatically. Or they're going to be from minus 0.1 till 10, and that means they're going to go to minus 10. But someone's going to be at 0. What's going to happen to them? They get a 10-day pass. Why? Because it was perfectly balanced. Most people are not going to be perfectly balanced. They're going to be in one category or the other. And how does it work if you're in the 0.01 to 10 or minus 0.1 to 10, minus 10? Well, it just depends on the numbers. You have more zechuyot or you have more averot. That's Tosafot's point. And then they say, but it doesn't work out that way in the real world. We don't see that happen. We see a tzaddik gomer who died this year, Chalila. So we say, oh, they were really a Rasha? Nah, it can't be. Or someone we see as a total Mrushcha, a Mashal Manuvel, and they're human, and they got through Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur with flying colors because they're still going. Hanukkah, Sarah B'Tevet, Purim, Pesach, Shavuos, they're still going. How could it be? So the Bali Tosafot would say, no, because what's being judged, when we talk about this whole number line in the scale, and even in Rosh Hashanah, is not actually this world. It's the next world. Your chelik for the next world is being judged. If you die during that year, so whatever status you achieved, how do you get to that status? It's based on what happened in the past. According to Tosafot, here's the problem. What's happening to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? What's happening is, you don't know if you're a tzaddik gomer, God forbid, or if you're a Rasha gomer, maybe you're Benoni. If you're a Benoni, everything hangs in the balance. You want to make sure you tilt the scale in the right direction. And since you're human and you're probably not going to be perfect between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, you better add as many mitzvahs as you can, because on the 10th of Tishrei, decision time. But that's challenging. Most people are probably in one camp or the other, and it's not really going to matter what they do in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And it's all about Olam Haba. The Chinuch said, no, there's two things, there's two Gemaras here, because it's telling you the first Gemara is about this world and Rosh Hashanah being judged for this world. And the second Gemara is about the next world. The first Gemara is telling you that almost everybody in the bell curve is a Benoni, because Gamur means complete, total, the total tzaddik, the total Rasha. Who's a total tzaddik, a total Rasha? Not most people. They're the bell curve, they're Benoni. Now, since we're Benonim, so now between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there's a judgment coming for the year ahead. And the judgment, now he also has problems. What kind of a judgment is it? So does that mean if I had bad things happen to me this year since Yom Kippur, so I didn't do a good enough job in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? What about the year past? So the Chinuch also didn't answer all the questions. You understand? That's why it's a machloket, because they each have their own perspective. You got a question?
Yeah, it seems like why does it have to be mutual? It sounds like these interpretations are mutually exclusive. And my question is why? Why can't both
They both be true?
Be true. We're each year we are of course praying for the next year.
Yeah.
Of course we're praying for Olam Haba. And then it builds one year after another.
So
also, we don't know the wisdom of Hashem.
Right.
What's our tafkid?
Right.
Maybe we finished our tafkid. Now it's time. So why isn't that played?
So this was confusing enough to the Pnei Yeshua, which we won't have time to see in Sykes. I really want to get to the Rambam, the Ramban. But the Pnei Yeshua will say at the beginning of his writing on this subject, I really don't want to talk about this. I don't have anything to say. I'm not going to understand it at the end anyway. But since Rashi and Tosafot and all the Rishonim wrote about it, the Pnei Yeshua is an Achron, I'm going to have to address it as well and give my best guess, because what could I do? It's Torah. Clearly someone thought it was important, and a lot of people thought it was important, not just the Gemara, which is mystifying, and exactly. But and you have to account for that. Maybe someone that was already only going to have a short life. That's what Hashem decreed. Nobody knows. Yeah. So if you don't know, so you have to live life to the fullest in terms of, preparing the path for the future, mitzvahs, etc. Not to live just suck the marrow out of life, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. But to realize there's another world. So prepare. This is the prosdor. And once you realize that, okay, but is that going to have a bearing necessarily on how it's going to go Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Maybe Hashem could extend a person's life. Maybe not. Maybe life would be shortened. Right? It happened, didn't it? It happened to Moshe Rabbeinu.
Well, in the Gemara, he talks about it all the time. People's
lives extended, or
died, but
right,
or vice
right.
versa.
Could happen. Yeah, Judah, please.
Scale.
Okay, I made up the scale. It's not. Yeah.
Yet we say stakata tzil mimav.
Right.
Means can move you
Nachon.
on a scale
Nachon.
on the other side.
We learned it. It's on this page. Look on this page. Stuck at the narrow lines. We learned it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines up in the narrow lines. Right. One of the things that can change the Gzardin is tzedakah. Tzedakah tatzim mimavet. The Gemara is like telling you want to know a super mitzvah to like tip the scale, so to speak. Tzedakah. It's right there. Yeah.
Easiest way to help.
Huh? Yeah, you could say. Now, again, we fall into the trap. Not you, not me, but there are Jews who fall into the trap. They're buying their way out. Hashem doesn't work that way. Come on. The point is you're adding a merit and a zechut. And yeah, I understand. You realize what I have is not really mine. Hashem gave it to me as a custodian. My body is not mine. My life is not. It's Hashem. And Hashem alach, v'guf po'alach. Okay, so you're giving tzedakah. Yeah, but I don't have to be a good person, but I gave tzedakah to compensate it. I don't know. It seems a little, So like I paid for it. So that is where in the Middle Ages there was another religion, without going into it, that you could pay money so you could do bad things. It's literally that's what it was. Literally. So that's not Judaism. That's another religion. Anyway, yeah.
So, machloket between the Tosafot and the Chinuch. Tosafot is Olam Haba. Chinuch, if you will, is Olam Hazeh. Do they both agree it's the weighted average of your annual accounts?
It sounds that way. By the way, for the Baalei Tosafot, Yom HaDin is not when a person dies. The Yom HaDin is a Tchiyat HaMeitim. Ksheyichayu HaMeitim. It's the first 2 words of Yom HaDin. Ksheyichayu HaMeitim. Yeah, that's going to be like at the end. At the end. We didn't finish the Tosafot here, but yes, it's basically the weighted average. Here's Tosafot. Go to Tosafot. Nechtam la'at l'chaim. Midikach hashi beinonim mashma de tzadik and gemor and kari l'mish zechutav merubim v'shem gemor l'mish avonotav and merubim. As soon as you've tipped the scales, as it's tzaddik in the world of being a tzaddik or the world of being Russia, so it tips all the way, right? Upamim, but then it says upamim hatzadikim nechamim lamita v'shem gemor l'chaim. Sometimes you see that tzaddik was sealed to die. Now, there are other commentaries that point out the die doesn't mean necessarily to die. Could be to suffer, could be to lose money, could be to have a health challenge. There's something negative. And the Rishon Gemurim, l'chaim. So they're getting l'chaim. Dichtivu mishalim l'sonav el panav lahavido. Because the pasuk says God will pay a recompense to those who he hates to destroy them. What does that mean? The recompense is they get this reward, the reward in this world, and they keep thinking, I'm good. I lived a great life. But that's because you're looking at this world as all there is. Yeah, I'm reading it. So per comment to Kiddushin. Mishat zchut merubim avonotav doma k'mishat saraf et kol haTorah. They're saying how it is in this world. The per Kiddushin. Someone has more merits than sins. Could be like a person who burned the entire Torah and didn't leave a single letter. And a person could have complete sins and more sins than merits. Could be like a person who upheld the entire Torah and didn't leave out one letter. V'chol zeh dekari hacha gabe rishayim mita v'gabe tzedikim chayim klomar l'chai olam haba. Because really what we're talking about when we talk about the chayim and the mavet is in olam haba. Tosafot answered the question about the tzaddik rosh v'tovlo is not really happening for this world.
A real strange question.
All right.
The format of the Sefer Chinuch is to go through the 613 mitzvot. So which mitzvah do they connect this whole discussion to? Is it
The Korban Musaf Rosh Hashanah? It's the top of the page. Korban Musaf Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. And I didn't give you that part, but the Chinuch says it's not a regular. On the top.
Very top.
Top of the page, between the words Minchat Chinuch, which is really the commentary on the side, specifically, and more mitzvah shin yadav shelo lasam malacha b'shana. So, but that was the one before. Oh yeah, so shelo lasam malacha. Sorry, it's shin yadav, not shin yadav, shin yadav. Yeah. Not do malacha on Rosh Hashanah. In other words, what makes the Isser to do malacha on Rosh Hashanah different than some other day? And the answer is because din. That's its character.
So it's different from Isur Malacha on Shabbos, for example.
Presumably.
Interesting.
Presumably. Now turn over the page to the Rambam, Perek Shlishi. The Rambam, who you would imagine is going to be pretty this worldly focused. Yeah. Not because he doesn't believe in Olam Haba and Tchir HaMeitim, etc. That's why he has the Mamar Tchir HaMeitim that he writes, because he wants to remind everybody. Of course, I believe in Tchir HaMeitim. It's an Ikar Emunah. I wrote the 13 Ikar Emunah, and, based on the Gemara and Sanhedrin in Perek Chelik, right? So what does he write? Kol echad v'echad b'nei adam yesh lo zechuot v'avonot. Mi shezechuotav yitirot al avonotav, tzadik. Umi sheavonotav yitirot al zechuotav, rasha. Machza l'machza beinoni. So in that score, he sounds a little bit like the how Tosafot understood it.
Mm-hmm.
You have more merits, you're a tzaddik. More demerits, you're the opposite. And if it's even, you're a beinoni. V'chein haMedina. This is
It's not very many people in that category.
right. How can you prove that? V'chein haMedina. So it is in the state, the country. Im hayu zechuyot kol yosvei merubot avonoteim arezu tzadeket. Im hayu avonoteim merubim arezu risha. You can either be a tzaddik or a rasha. V'chein kol olam kula. It's true for every country. Ba'al medinot bo ye'amer ezu lacherev ve'ezu lashalom. That's what we mean. How is the country doing? So you say, I don't have to care about the country. I just have to care about me. Me, my family, my community, the Jews. And that's not what the Rambam said. So that it goes state by state, and that the entire world is actually being judged in this way. And it's, by the way, it's in Hilchot Tshuva, but just to pay close attention, it's in Hilchot Tshuva, but it is not actually talking necessarily about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur here. Didn't mention Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Just saying, everyone has this score. Now go to the next page. Bet. Adam shavonotav merubim al zechuyotav. If a person ever gets to the point where they have more sins than merits, miyad hu meit barisho shenemar arov avonech. V'chein medina shavonotav merubim miyad he overet shenemar zakatz dom v'amora ki rabah. You don't have to translate that. What happened to stone? Okay. V'chein kol olam kulo. Scary. Imay v'notav merubim miyad he nishchatin shenemar v'yar Hashem ki rabah ra'at ha'adam ba'aretz. Yeah.
That's the concept of Yonah Navi in the debate.
Yes. Nachon. Okay. So now, v'shikul zeh, this weighing out, eino lefi minin hazechuot va'avonot, elafi godlan. The weighing out here is not according to the number of merits and sins, but rather according to their size. They're weighted. We don't know the size. Hashem knows the size. Yezechut shehi keneged kama avonot, shenemar yan nimtza bo davar tov, v'yeshavon shu keneged kama zechuyot. Could have one merit that cancels out a bunch of sins, outweighs it, using imagery, and could have the exact opposite. Okay, shenemar v'chote echad yovad tova harbe, ve'en shoklin ela b'daito shel kel deot. The only one who's actually doing the weighing out is according to the knowledge of the God who knows everything. We have no idea. Only God knows. Only God knows.
So what does it say in Parak? Because I heard this a couple of
Right, because you don't know. That's exactly it. You have no idea. So you better not make a problem. Yeah.
This suggests that it's all Olam Hazeh and it's all like we're done.
Right. And the Rambam, believe you me, I mean, you already know this. He was well attuned to the idea of tzaddik v'ra Rosh V'tovlo. He wrote about it extensively in the Mora. He knows all about it. He's not, So like, what is this? What is this about? Right. Right. So now look at look at the Ravid. Halacha bet Hasagot HaRavid. The Ravid did not like what the Rambam wrote. Did not like what the Rambam wrote. He was upset. You see it there in superscript? Is it possible to even read it? It's too small. No, it's right near where the letter bet is in the Rambam.
No,
It's in super small letters, which of course gets fuzzy when I zoom in. So it's not really working out. So this is what it says. It's where the bet is an asterisk. Look just to the left of it. It says Hasagat HaRavid right next to it. You see it? Okay. Hasagat HaRavid. Amar Avram. Lo kamo shu sover. Kshe'amru rishayim nechtam la'alter l'mita shemiyad meitim. It's not as he says. As you find in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Ted Zayin, that the wicked will be sealed immediately for death, that immediately they die. Ve'eno kain. That's not true. There are a lot of wicked people who live a long time. Ella nichtam la'alter shlo yimlu yemehem lishnei hador shenigzru alav. Ve'ikar davar zeh b'yavamot. What does it mean? They're nechtamin lamita. It's that their life gets shortened. Whatever they were supposed to live, they'll live less time in this world. That's what nechtamin la'alta lamita means. Doesn't mean they're going to die immediately, because if anyone Hashem live a long life. It's whatever they were going to get in terms of the number of years, which from Hashem is now going to be shortened from what it was before. They die early. Yeah, Francie.
No, we're doing today. You and I are doing mitzvahs.
Yeah,
okay,
hopefully many mitzvahs.
For the future.
Right. Right.
So how can you say that he's got a lot, he's got a little, you don't know
We don't know
until
till the end. Well, we don't know. The answer is we don't know.
Okay.
Correct. But the Ravid says, I'm going to agree with you, Rambam. It's about what happens in this world. But can be they're going to be sealed for death because you don't know. Mm-hmm.
That's a bad thing. Maybe he's not. Maybe
Right. So who knows? Only God knows. Only God can judge the weight of this and that. Yeah, Judah, please.
Not only that, we assume that the Rashaim nidonim lemitam miyad. They follow the concept of Chazal Tshuva.
Uh-huh. So,
Right.
but this is again because we learned it over several weeks. On this page 16b in the Gemara, it said, "Dal Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Dal Dvar Mekarim Gzar Dino Shel Adam Eluhein." 4 things that can tear away whatever the decree was for a person. Tzedakah is one. It's right here. Tzedakah, it gives you, and it tells you tzedakah means tefillah, crying out to God. Shinu Hashem means changing your identity. It's doing tshuva, changing your identity. I'm not Eini Oto Ha'ish. I'm not the person who did those sins, which some people think just means literally to add a name or take away a name, which when a person's very sick, God forbid, and we have miraculous stories right before our very eyes, they get the name Chaim added, and okay, Shinu Hashem. And the last one is Shinui Maisa. Shinui Maisa, you can't argue with that. That's definitely tshuva, you changed your ways. So then you could tear the Gzar Din. But all things being equal, there's a Gzar Din. But exactly as Francie's saying, let's say the person's supposed to live 95 years, and now they did bad things, and Hashem made their life shorter, and they're 87 years, but they're 60, so they don't know. So you should be aware. There's a din. There's a din. By the way, who? What? Yeah.
You should have been 69 years and you added.
Yeah. By the way, who we know someone. We know some great people who had this happen to them. Great people. So what is it? Monday night. So news was before Havdalah, the deadline for Havdalah. Isn't that what happened to someone who didn't live 180 years? Yitzchak Avinu lived 180 years. Avram Avinu did not live 180 years for reasons we can't really understand. He lived 175. Rashi explains based on the Medrash. So he wouldn't live long enough to see what Esav became. How did Esav become that? Because that was their Esav choices. Now you'll tell me it's not fair that Avram should lose 5 years of his life because of Esav. That's what Hashem decided. But when it comes to Yaakov Avinu, according to the Bali Tosafot, he dies at 147. That's what the Torah says. because he was punished. He was 130 and he stood before Paro. Paro said, how old are you? What did he say? I'm 130. They've been few years. They're bad years. I never got to the years of my forefather, of my father, and my grandfather. How did he know he wasn't going to get there? He died. He was 130. He died 147. So according to the Bali Tosafot, Nigzera, and they have a whole calculus that you can see a hint to this in the 33 years, 33 words in the whole conversation. Remember this? We've learned it many times. It's the Dadzikin and Bali Tosafot. They didn't make it up as a flight of fancy. They were trying to understand, how could this greatest of the Avot, of the three, the Bechir HaAvot is Yaakov Avinu, because Avram unfortunately has a child who was not part of the covenant. Yitzchak has a child like that, but Yaakov Avinu, everybody's part of the covenant. So 33 years shaved off his life. And of course, the biggest one of all, Moshe Rabbeinu. There was no Admei Vesrim Shana until there was a Moshe Rabbeinu. It was this thing. Look how long everybody else lived. Moshe, in one moment, how could it be? On that Madrega, that's what happened. So the Raavad says that's what it means. It doesn't mean you're going to die immediately, because I see a lot of Rishayim around me and they live a long time. The Rambam has not breathed a word so far about the word Rosh Hashanah. He's just talking in general. Now, Halacha Gimel. Kol mi shnicham al mitzvot she'asa v'tahal zchuyot v'amar b'libo umaho alti ba'asiyatan ulai lo asiti otan hareze ibed et kulan ve'ein mazkirin lo shum zechut ba'olam. There's only one way you can ruin the mitzvahs that you've done. There's only one way you could bankrupt yourself, and that's if you start saying to yourself, I regret that I did the mitzvahs. If a person would say, what's the point? What did I really gain from it? Okay, so in other words, you're kofar in the idea that there's a reward, a schar for it, or even the schar of what you did, right? Why did I visit that person? What benefit did it have for me? So you sort of like undo the mitzvahs that you've done. So the Rambam says, okay, it's canceled and finished, and you can't get it back.
It's not a math test where, certain questions are worth so many points and this, how can, you visit the
God knows.
and
Yeah, God knows. Only God knows,
this
right?
home is worth what?
Who
10
knows?
points?
Who
Yeah.
knows?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's-
And if it's snowing outside, and
yeah.
and you come and they scream at you, there could be a lot of things could happen. So I'm just saying it could happen. So God forbid. So then you lose it. The righteousness of the righteous person will not save him on the day of his wickedness. That's only if you undo what you've done that's good in the world by saying, what was the point? And I didn't get anything from it. I regret that I spent time, money, energy, whatever. Then the Rambam says, in Halacha Gimel, halfway through, Kishem Shishoklin Avonot Adam Uzchiotav V'Shat Mitato, Kach B'Chol Shana V'Shana Shoklin Avonot Kol Echad V'Echad M'Bay HaOlam Uzchiotav B'Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanah. Just as it happens at the end of a person's life, so too it's going to be the case every year on Rosh Hashanah. Now, on the next page, the Rambam continues. Says the Rambam, Mishanim Tzaddik Nechtam L'Chaim, U'Mishanim Tzarasha Nechtam L'Mita. V'abenuni tolin lo ad Yom Kippurim. Im asa tshuva nachtam l'chaim, v'im lav nachtam le'mita. Right? So the Rambam is very cryptic because he's saying, well, if you have more merit, he's saying if you have more merits, where is it on top of the page? Right? You have someone who's found to be a tzaddik, they'll get life. Someone who's found to be a rasha, they'll die. Isn't that the problem the Bali Tosafot we're trying to deal with? Is the Rambam denying the reality of tzaddik v'ral rasha v'tovlo?
He doesn't know.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
I
Yep.
understand the literal meaning, what the Rambam says.
Yes.
Is on the 11th of Tishrei. Everybody I meet is a tzaddik.
Sounds that way, no? But how could it be?
Ain't no-
How could it be?
No.
Not on 11 Tishrei, till 10 Tishrei. On 10 Tishrei, he's right. 10 Tishrei, there's no Benoni left. You're going to be one or the other. As it says, but it's very hard to understand what the Rambam's talking about because maybe not every good person is going to live out the year. Maybe not every bad person is going to die that year. In fact, we see that all the time, as far as we can tell, right? And no one wants to walk around saying that anybody passes away much because they sinned. They're not going to accept that, right? Which makes the Rambam very hard to understand. Yeah.
This could be resolved by people's years being subtracted. But the reality is with modern medical treatment.
Yeah.
They extended the lives on the actuarial table.
I know.
Used to be.
We just had the lecture here, remember? about longevity.
So, so,
How does that fit in? The answer is Hashem's running the world. And if Hashem's allowing us to figure out ways to extend life, and He's asking us, okay, if I let you extend life, generally, human population, so what are you doing with it?
we know that the
Minastam.
majority of the population is gonna live beyond up to a certain point.
We have no way of knowing who, right?
That's true.
That's the point. We have no way of knowing who. That's the point. Yeah. Even if you're going to argue statistics and that, but you don't know who within the group, and that's where the judgment's coming in. That's why it's hidden.
So that would suggest that anyone who dies earlier than pick a number
Yeah,
was a Russian.
that's the point. That's the problem. That's what we're trying to understand. It's like this is what's very strange. We can't understand it. So now look at Allah Dalet. Now look at Allah Dalet. You've heard this a million times in drushes. Even though the Tikiyat Shofar is mentioned in the Torah as Gzera Katuv, the Torah says just do it, doesn't give you the reason. Remez Yeshbo, there's a hint in it. Kilomar, wake up, those who are sleeping from your slumber. It means arise from your slumber. Search your ways, return in tshuva. And remember your Creator. All of you who forget the truth in the vagaries of time and all of their years with vanity and emptiness, which will not benefit anyone and will not save you. And everyone should look into their soul and better themselves and their path and their plans. And they should abandon the path that is wicked and their thought that is wicked, which is not good. They should abandon all of that. Lefichach. Now here comes the practical. And this was why the Rambam said what he said before. It becomes more understandable now. Lefichach tzarich kol adam shira atzma kol hashana kula ki ilu chetzio zakai v'chetzio chayev. You should imagine the whole year that you're exactly balanced between one and the other. You don't really know. So assume you're actually that guy in the middle. And assume that the entire world is also balancing between the two. You should imagine that if you sin one sin, you'll make the decision for yourself and for the whole world. To the side that is of decree. And cause destruction. And if you did one more mitzvah, then you made the entire world go into the proper direction. You saved the world. Save a life, save the world. You know, everyone knows how to quote that, right? From the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. It's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin, Mishnah Furashet. One version of it is save a life, another save a Jewish life and save the world. But okay, whichever one it is, there's some connection between an individual and the world. So the Rambam, I think, he doesn't give you his sources, Midumani, I think, he took that idea and he said, imagine yourself that the world is balanced on you, and the world existence is balanced on you. Your actions matter. Do the right thing. Choose the right way. You're going to tip the scales in your direction. Zeu shnamar v'tzadik yisod olam. Right? The one who caused themselves to be righteous, they justified themselves. They made the entire world go in the right direction. And because, I should pause for 1 minute. I actually have to leave in like less than a minute because I have boys coming soon to my house. You'll say, I mean, the Rambam just, it's like imagery and like maybe you like imagine you're in the middle. It's so far-fetched to think that maybe you're in the middle, but you're imagining books in the sky, which is also imagery. So the Rambam's saying, okay, so imagine you're the Beinoni. When? All the time. But, and then he adds, umipnei inyan zeh, nagu kol beit Yisrael hard b'tzedakah v'masim tov v'lasik v'mitzvot me'Rosh Hashanah v'ad Yom Kippurim yatim kol Hashanah. That's why Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, between the two, we're throwing in a bonanza of mitzvahs in between because we want to feel then more than the rest of the year. This is when we're for sure in the middle. We must all be in the book of the Beinoni, which is not really the Beinoni. It's not written in any book, but we could be written in either book. Or sealed in either book. V'nagu kulam lakum b'layla. B'aseret yamim elu. Ulitpel b'ati knesset b'divrei tachanunim. B'divrei kivushin achi or hayom. Keep going from the middle of the night, until when it's still nighttime, until daybreak. Yeah. And then there's more. I didn't give you more right now. There's a lot more and a lot of back and forth. This Raava is actually very important from Malacha Hey. We can't get to it tonight. We'll have to get to another night. But the Rambam's argument is basically, live according to this imagery all the time. And you imagine it's so far-fetched that could be the Beinoni. Is it so much more far-fetched than imagining that there are mamish books in Shamayim? It's a way for us to understand things. So imagine you're in the Beinoni, you go this way or that way, and that how we'll make the decision? The next decision that comes up to choose the right way. Hilchot Tshuva. Okay, HaDin for tonight. Much more to say. We have to come back another time. That's all we have time for. Lala Tov. So we meet again.